Verse of the day, Thursday, January 8th, 2026. Psalm 84 verse 10. Better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of the wicked. Psalm 84 verse 10 captures a profound sentiment about the significance of experiencing God's presence in our lives. The verse eloquently expresses the idea that just one day spent in the courts of the Lord is more valuable than 1,000 elsewhere, highlighting the incomparable joy and fulfillment found in a relationship with God. Furthermore, it emphasizes the humble role of a doorkeeper in the house of God, suggesting that even the simplest acts of service within a spiritual community are worthy and meaningful. Understanding Psalm 84 verse 10, context and meaning. The historical background of Psalm 84. Psalm 84 is a beautiful psalm attributed to the sons of Korah, a group known for their deep love of the temple and its worship. This psalm is essentially a heartfelt longing for God's presence, likely composed during a time when access to the temple was limited. Picture it, a devoted worshiper, feeling the pangs of separation, yearning to be back in that sacred space, where the beauty of worship is unmatched by anything else the world offers. Literary structure and themes. This psalm is structured in a way that draws the reader into a vivid emotional experience. It's divided into three parts: a declaration of longing for God, verses 1 to 4, a reflection on the blessedness of dwelling with God, verses 5 to 9, and a conclusion that expresses the worthiness of God, verses 10 to 12. The recurring theme is the joy found in God's presence, with imagery that evokes warmth, safety, and deep fulfillment, essentially like being wrapped in a cozy blanket during a winter storm. The value of divine presence. The importance of spiritual connection. In a world filled with distractions, think social media, binge watching, and trying to keep up with your neighbor's garden, you might wonder why spiritual connection matters. Simply put, it grounds us. The divine presence offers solace, perspective, and a sense of belonging that earthly pursuits just can't match. Experiencing God's love and grace. Experiencing God's love and grace is like diving into a pool on a scorching day, refreshing and transformative. It's that moment you realize you're not just a face in a crowd, but a beloved child of the Creator. This presence envelopes you with grace that reminds you, mistakes are not the end. They're just detours on the path of life. It's an invitation to not only bask in love, but to also share that love with others, turning the mundane into the miraculous. The significance of being a doorkeeper. The role of a doorkeeper in ancient worship. In ancient worship, being a doorkeeper wasn't just about holding the door open. It was a position of honor and trust. These individuals were often the gatekeepers to the sacred, ensuring that those who entered the temple were ready for an encounter with God. Imagine standing guard, not with a fancy title, but with a heart full of dedication, ready to welcome fellow worshipers who sought the divine. The spiritual implications of humble service. Embracing the role of a doorkeeper is a powerful metaphor for humble service. It suggests that even the simplest acts, like opening a door, can hold profound spiritual significance. Serving in a humble capacity is not a downgrade. It's a way to elevate the experience of others and create an environment where God can move. After all, sometimes the smallest gestures have the biggest impact, like a smile that turns someone's day around. Comparing one day in God's courts to 1,000 elsewhere. The concept of time in spiritual terms. When Psalm 84 verse 10 states that one day in God's courts is better than 1,000 elsewhere, it invites us to rethink time. In our hustle culture, where we're often clock-watching and multitasking, spiritual time expands and enriches. It's as if one moment spent in communion with God holds the weight of 1,000 busy days, filled with mundane tasks. In God's presence, every second becomes sacred. Prioritizing spiritual fulfillment over material gain. This verse nudges us to evaluate what truly fulfills us. Sure, chasing promotions or accumulating stuff can feel rewarding, like finally conquering that never-ending to-do list. But the real treasure lies in spiritual fulfillment. It's about prioritizing what feeds the soul over what merely fills the wallet. When we realize that spiritual riches last far longer than material possessions, we begin to live life with deeper purpose and joy. To be continued in next video.